Hey everyone, and thanks for joining me today in my wonderful Overwatch guides. Today we're going to be talking about Mei. So just like in my last guide that I did, I'm going to talk about many points and try to help everybody get a better understanding of how to walk into competitive matches on Mei and how to know when to pick Mei and when she's going to be good. So to get started, I want to talk about her abilities more specifically than I did on Sombra because Mei's abilities are more vital, and oftentimes, especially in lower play, you see a lot of Meis that just left click, to freeze, right click to kill. And where that is generally, every character's kit, she does have her two added abilities plus her ult that really defines who she is. So first, we're going to start with her ice block. So her ice block is really about surviving. It is her survival tool. Obviously, when you pop it, you do go invincible, you can't be hit, and it heals you a little bit. What a lot of people don't know is that if you actually take damage in your ult charge, or in your ice block, that it generates your ult charge up faster. So, like, a good example of this is like if you see a Roadhog ulting, you can literally hop in front of him and hit your block, and what this is going to do is not only block the damage from hitting the rest of your team, just like your wall would do, but it's also going to generate your ult, which means you're going to get it up a lot more frequently. So, finding your key points to do that is really good, like a Pharah ult. Generally, any ult that an enemy is going to do is going to build your ult really quick through your shift. So her second ability, her wall, and this one I'm not going to go too majorly in depth with because a lot of you are probably playing solo play. I will do more of an advanced guide for this to tell you some more little tips and tricks with it, but generally your wall will be used as a block. To block an enemy from getting into a point, to block a massive attack like a Pharah ult, or to even block somebody in. Like, you'll see me do a few times in the videos where somebody gets a little too close to us and I drop a wall behind them so they can't escape. That is the general use of your ult. However, and again without going too in depth, you can also boost people up, including yourself. So if you drop the ult right underneath you, like you saw me do earlier in the video, you'll notice it boosts you up. This can come into play in so many ways. Can help your team get an early setup, getting somebody somewhere where they shouldn't be able to get. It's got a limitless number of possibilities. But for the most part, you're just normally going to use it to wall. And if you're looking for a direct answer of what I think you should do, is watch the enemy's movement. You're going to notice the tank get really close. He's obviously going to be in front of everybody. If you can learn to place your wall behind him, that singles out the tank, that singles out their block. Especially if you're on attack, this is really, really important to do, because if you can take their tank out, you can go in. And her last and final ability we're going to talk about is her ult. Now, where most defensive characters, their ults build a little bit slower, obviously depending on what's going on in a fight, Mei has the potential of getting her ult up really quickly, like I said, with her shift, as well as her right click, which we'll go into in just a second. So, you normally want to hold it for a big engage if you know one's about to happen, but if you see your team breaking out in a fight, that is when you want to drop it. And please keep in mind, I hate it when this happens, but D.Va, her right click can stop your ult from even hitting the ground. It is the most obnoxious feeling in the world. So be very cautious when playing against a D.Va. It really is upsetting when that just disappears and you're like, what happened? So now to talk about her left and right click. Her left click obviously is her channeled freeze. It's a fairly short range. It's really good against countering high mobility champions because it slows them down, such as Genji. If you can get a couple of attacks on Genji with your left click, he's going to be so slow. It's going to be so much easier for your DPS to actually pick him off. Your right click is your I'm going to headshot you and kill you when you're frozen. But to also note, this generally builds, I think it's about 4% ult charge if you hit them with it. If you hit an enemy with it. So as a Mei, you want to be kind of standing back, sniping to build your ult. Obviously, get in there if stuff's going bad and everything. But when I play Mei, you'll actually see me in the back line, sniping more than anything else, just because I'm trying to build that ult charge. And then when my ult charge happens, you can really get in there, drop your ult, and you can do a lot of damage. I know a lot of Meis like to play really aggressively, and I'll get into that in a second on how you can play aggressively with her abilities. But before I do, I really, really want to talk about the team comp and knowing when to pick Mei. because Mei is one of those static champions where she does a lot of damage. She's a very strong control champion. She's hard as hell to kill, and she's overall just obnoxious. Generally, I play Mei when I'm trying to defend or attack a point. So, like on Hanamura, like you'll see me play her on attack as well. I normally don't use her too frequently on attack when it's, escort. I don't normally play her just because your ult charge can get left behind. People like to run in and die constantly there. Obviously, if you're playing with more of an organized team, you may not have that issue, and by all means, play her at that point. But generally, a map like Hanamura, any of the King of the Hill maps, she's really, really good on King of the Hill maps because her ult just says, get off my map. And they quite literally have to, or you kill them. And either way, you're going to take a point or hold a point, and you can almost single-handedly do that. So now to get in, like I said, to the aggressive play style and how to really amplify Mei's abilities. So Mei is almost indestructible if you time her right. Between her wall and her block, and just the fact that she can freeze people, makes her, in my opinion, the biggest pain in the game to kill. Because she's also a really small target. She's not D.Va size, she's not Reinhardt size or Roadhog. She's a very smaller target, makes it really hard to aim for some people. So, when I'm doing an escort mission and I'm defending it and I notice that my teammate isn't up there tanking on it, I can easily encourage my teammate by doing so, by literally just jumping in and using my wall and my block as frequently as I can, obviously trying to space them so they're not both on cooldown. And that will encourage your teammates to move forward, because they're going to subconsciously try to protect you unless you're just doing so bad that they think you're terrible and you're better off dead. So yeah, you kind of want to jump in, when you start taking too much damage, hit that ice block. I generally try to start with the wall because the wall is shorter cooldown than the ice block. If you can wall off half the enemies, freeze one. When you get low again, you hit your ice block, you come back out. You're able to then use your wall again a couple seconds later. Keep jumping around, keep moving, keep freezing key targets. And I know a lot of people thinking that key targets are the DPS, and where DPS are generally going to be your biggest threat. If you can get a Reinhardt to turn his back to the team, that's a kill. If you can freeze Lucio and kill him yourself, that's perfect. Or Mercy, that's perfect. But even if you can't, a frozen target is a lot easier to hit than a mobile target. So your team's going to have a lot easier time taking things out. You'll find a lot of time if you watch me on my stream when I'm playing Mei. I spend a lot more time in the front line on attack or on escort maps than I do on King of the Hill maps. King of the Hill maps and defend points, I'm often in the back line, like I said, trying to snipe, build that ult charge. Mei is... Honestly, like I said, I was trying to tell you, when to play her and when not to play her. So revolving more around your team aspect rather than the map aspect or game mode aspect, you got to kind of think about, how much damage does your team have? If you play around with her on King of the Hill and you find out, well, my team doesn't have enough damage and I'm crowd controlling, out the wall, I'm freezing people left and right. One of two things is happening. Either their tanks are really good or your DPS are really bad. And either scenario there, Mei is not going to be a good pick for you, and that's when you're going to want to swap off her. However, if you're finding that you're playing like a soldier or a tracer, and you're finding yourself bronze in damage, you're dying more, you're not being as effective as you could be, that is always a good point to switch over to Mei. Because if you're already that low in damage, help boost the people who are above you go even higher. Help control, help use that point, or use your kit to help you win the point over. Generally, when I start a game and I know immediately, hey, I'm going to play Mei, there's oftentimes in the back of my head I'm thinking, if this doesn't work, I'll know within the first couple minutes. I will know, not even a couple minutes, I will know within the first 30 seconds if my team is going to need me to switch to something else to boost my damage, or if our team is going to be set. And like always with every one of my guides, this is the biggest key factor. Play around what your team needs. Everybody has their favorite characters. Mine is Tracer. You know how many times I have to switch off a Tracer? Man, it's really, really, really important that you just play off of what your team actually needs and not what you prefer to play. Even though Mei is a lot of fun, and she is honestly one of my top favorite champions, she does have a lot of situations where she's just not very helpful. And there's not much you can really do as a Mei player, whether they're outranging you, they're just outdamaging your team, whatever it may be, you've got to be willing to make that switch. But at the same time, like I said, if you're playing a DPS, you're lower out, Mei is generally my go-to choice, unless we need like a very, very high damage defensive character, at which point I do go Junkrat over Mei. But I'll talk more about that when I get to my Junkrat guide, because obviously his kit works differently. The big thing when picking Mei is knowing, is my ult going to be effective? Just like when you pick any other character. You know, you pick a soldier to counter a Pharah because your ult makes it so you don't have to aim. There's a lot of benefits to Soldier's ult. Mei's ult is the same way. If you're playing against a Tracer, Tracer is almost never going to get frozen by you. If you're playing against a Genji, where, yeah, you do technically counter Genji and it does help, if the Genji knows he's playing against a Mei, he's going to be saving his Dragon's Blade for your ult, and at which point he's just going to Dragon Blade out. Same with the Reinhardt charge, where you do see a lot of Reinhardts, but generally Reinhardts will engage with a charge. So if you do it fast enough to deter the engage, then Reinhardt's not going to be able to get out. Pharah can fly in the air. Zenyatta can use his tranquility. There's so many situations where if you're playing against 3 or 4 of these champs that can just instantly get out of your ult, she's not going to be a solid pick, and you need to reconsider what you're playing. Again, I'm not saying this to deter people from playing Mei. If you were, really wanting to learn how to play Mei, I highly consider sitting down, learning what you are capable of doing and the timing of her abilities, because I can tell you a million times over, I can show you videos a million times over, but you're not going to learn unless you do it yourself. So, my honest opinion of Mei, as somebody walking into competitive, she is a very, very strong character. Very, very strong. I highly advise people to pick up Mei. She's, like I said, one of my favorite champs. I see a Mei when I'm playing Tracer and I am in heaven. I absolutely love Mei. But there are those times when Mei's just not the good pick. So do keep that in mind, and please feel free to watch my other guides to maybe pick out and help you synergize more with, or understanding more where Mei is going to synergize, because I generally do tend to talk about other champions when I talk in my other guides as to how to pick them, where to play them, and I hope this helped. I hope that you can take something from this and get a good understanding of it. And if you do have any questions, please feel free to comment any questions. And also, this is my second guide video. If you have any recommendations, please feel free to give me those recommendations. I do appreciate them. I do generally try to reply to every single one of them. Any kind of criticism you have, I am open to. My thing here is trying to better each and every Overwatch player, because I'm not the best. I'm not Master, I'm not Diamond, but even the people that I play with, I would like to see them get better, and if I can do something to help, or I have missed something, or you think that I should have mentioned in this video, if it is a solid point or a solid factor, I will completely remake a video to help other people out. That is what I'm here for. I'm here to play and learn so I can teach you. Anyways, guys, this has been my Mei Overwatch competitive intro tutorial. Again, I will be doing an advanced guide in the future. I really, really hope you enjoy this, and please keep coming back for more. Hope everybody has a great night.